The contractions ripped through my body like lightning, but the pain in my chest hurt worse. I gripped the hospital bed rails, sweat pouring down my face, and there he stood, Chukwuemeka, my husband of 7 years, holding a manila envelope with that smirk I'd once found charming. "Sign these, Adana," he said, his voice cold as Lagos harmattan wind. "It's over." My water had broken 2 hours ago. The nurses had called him 3 times before he finally showed up, reeking of expensive perfume that wasn't mine. Through my haze of pain, I saw her, a woman in the hallway younger, wearing the gold bracelet I'd admired in the jewelry store last month but couldn't afford. The same bracelet Chukwuemeka said we couldn't budget for. You're doing this now?" I gasped between contractions. "While I'm having our baby?" He laughed. Actually laughed. The sound echoed through the private room at Lagos Island Maternity Hospital, mixing with the beeping monitors and my labored breathing. "Our baby." He dropped the envelope on my swollen belly. "Adana, let's be honest. You trapped me with this pregnancy. Yatund is pregnant too, and unlike you, she's not a financial burden. She has her own business, her own money. What do you have? Your little teaching job at that secondary school." The room spun. Yatund. I knew that name. She owned the boutique on Victoria Island where Lagos society women shopped. I'd seen her at Chukwuemeka's company party 3 months ago, draped in silk and confidence. Another contraction seized me, and I screamed. Not just from physical pain, but from the shattering of everything I'd believed in. We'd met at the University of Lagos, married young against his wealthy family's wishes. His mother, Chief Mrs. Okonkwo, had never accepted me, the daughter of a civil servant from Enugu, not the Igbo princess she'd chosen for her son. "The apartment is mine," Chukwuemeka continued, checking his phone casually. "The car is in my name. You'll get nothing, Adana. My lawyers made sure of that. You signed a post-nuptial agreement 2 years ago, remember? When you were desperate for money for your father's surgery." I remembered. I'd signed papers, trusting him, barely reading them through my tears. "Now sign the divorce papers before this baby comes. Make this easy." Through my tears and pain, I saw the nurses watching from the doorway, their faces mixed with pity and shock. One of them, a young woman named Blessing, held her phone slightly raised. Was she recording? "Get out," I whispered. "What? Get out?" I screamed with every ounce of strength I had left. He shrugged, grabbed the unsigned papers, and walked toward the door where Yatund waited. As they disappeared down the hallway, another contraction hit, and everything went white. Hours later, I held my daughter, Chioma, I named her, meaning good God, and stared at the divorce papers on the bedside table. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Mrs. Okonkwo, this is Barrister Nkemdirim Ohalit. Your uncle, Chief Ohalit, passed away last night. His will reading is scheduled for next week. Your presence is required in Enugu. This is urgent. Uncle Nkemdirim, my mother's brother." The family member everyone whispered about, the one who'd made his fortune in oil and gas, the one I hadn't seen since my wedding because he'd been traveling abroad. What would you do if you walked in on this? Hit like if you've been betrayed, and comment below where you're watching from. Don't forget to subscribe to Tales by Ben for more gripping stories like this. What do you think happens next? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. The week after Chioma's birth passed in a blur of sleepless nights and silent tears. I'd moved into my friend Ngozi's 2-bedroom flat in Surulere, a far cry from the luxury apartment in Ikoyi where I'd lived with Chukwuemeka. Ngozi, my former university roommate, had welcomed me without questions, simply cleared out her spare room and helped me set up a makeshift nursery. "That man is wicked," she said, rocking Chioma while I tried to eat the jollof rice she'd prepared. "Imagine serving you divorce papers in labor. Even animals don't abandon their mates during birth." I pushed the food around my plate, my appetite gone. Through the window, I could see the bustling streets of Surulere, Danfo buses honking, street vendors calling out their wares, the controlled chaos that was typical Lagos life. So different from the quiet, exclusive streets of Ikoyi where Chukwuemeka's wealth had shielded us from reality. My phone rang. Barrister Ohalit again. "Mrs. Okonkwo, I must insist you attend the will reading tomorrow. Your uncle was very specific about your presence. Can you travel to Enugu? I just had a baby a week ago, I said, my voice hollow. I don't even have money for transport. I'll arrange everything. A driver will pick you up at 6 a.m. Please, this is important. After he hung up, Ngozi looked at me seriously. Adana, when was the last time you spoke to your uncle Nkemdirim? At my wedding. He gave us an envelope. Chukwuemeka said it was just 5,000 naira. Nothing impressive for someone supposedly so wealthy. I paused, remembering. But Uncle looked at me that day and said something strange. He said, "Your husband's family thinks you're beneath them, but remember where you come from. The Ohalit blood runs strong." And you never heard from him again? He was always traveling. Dubai, London, Houston, working on oil deals. My mother said he was disappointed I married into the Okonkwo family. There was some old business rivalry between Uncle Nkemdirim and Chukwuemeka's father. The next morning, a black Range Rover arrived exactly at 6 a.m. The driver, a middle-aged Igbo man named Obinna, helped me settle Chioma in a car seat that looked brand new. "Barrister Ohalit takes good care of Chief's family," Obinna said as we pulled onto the Lagos-Enugu Expressway. Chief was a good man. Very private, but very deliberate about everything. The 5-hour drive gave me time to think. About my marriage, about how I'd ignored the warning signs. Chukwuemeka had started working late 2 years ago, missing dinners, canceling plans. His mother's visits had increased, each time suggesting I wasn't good enough. My cooking, my clothes, my job, my inability to fit into their high society circles. "You're embarrassing my son," Chief Mrs. Okonkwo had said during our last encounter. "He needs a wife who can stand beside him at important functions, not a village girl playing dress-up." I'd cried to Chukwuemeka about it, but he dismissed my concerns. "My mother means well. You're too sensitive, Adana." Now I understood. He'd been planning this, waiting for the right moment. And that moment was when I was most vulnerable, bringing his child into the world. We arrived at Uncle Nkemdirim's compound in Enugu at noon. My jaw dropped. The estate sprawled across several acres, with a main house that looked like something from Architectural Digest, surrounded by manicured gardens and a fountain that sparkled in the afternoon sun. "This was Uncle's house?" I whispered. Barrister Ohalit met me at the entrance, a distinguished man in his 60s wearing traditional Igbo attire. "Mrs. Okonkwo, welcome. I'm sorry we're meeting under these circumstances." He looked at Chioma sleeping in my arms. A new baby. Chief would have been so pleased. Inside, several people were already seated in a massive living room. Distant cousins I barely recognized, some of my mother's relatives, and strangers in expensive suits. Everyone turned to stare at me, the woman in a simple Ankara dress with a newborn, clearly out of place among their designer outfits. Then the living room door opened again, and my blood froze. Chukwuemeka walked in, his mother beside him, both dressed like they were attending a society wedding. What were they doing here? Keep watching. This story is about to take a turn you won't believe. Like this video if you're already hooked, and make sure you're subscribed to Tales by Ben with notifications on. What are you doing here? I stood up, Chioma stirring in my arms at my sudden movement. Chief Mrs. Okonkwo's face twisted with disgust. "Adana, control yourself. We were invited, just like you." She turned to Barrister Ohalit with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Barrister, I apologize for my daughter-in-law's outburst. She's not well." "Ex-daughter-in-law," Chukwuemeka corrected, not even looking at me. "The divorce is being processed." Barrister Ohalit's expression remained neutral. "Please, everyone take a seat. We have much to discuss." I sank back into my chair, my mind racing. How did the Okonkwos even know about this will reading? Uncle Nkemdirim and Chukwuemeka's family were supposed to be rivals. The lawyer opened a thick folder and began reading. "I, Chief Nkemdirim Ohalit, being of sound mind and body, do hereby declare this my last will and testament." The preliminaries seemed to drag on forever. Small bequests to house staff, donations to charities, property in Enugu distributed to various cousins. I half listened, wondering why I'd been summoned for this. Chioma needed to be fed soon, and I was exhausted from the journey. Then Barrister Ohalit's voice shifted, becoming more formal. To the matter of my primary estate, including all oil and gas holdings, real estate portfolios in Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, and London, shares in Ohalit Energy Corporation, and all remaining liquid assets currently valued at approximately 800 million naira. The room went silent. 800 million naira. I'd known Uncle was wealthy, but this... Chief Mrs. Okonkwo leaned forward, her eyes glittering with greed. I caught her exchange a glance with Chukwuemeka. Suddenly, their presence here made terrible sense. They'd heard about Uncle's wealth somehow, and they were here hoping to claim something through me, or despite me. I leave everything, Barrister Ohalit continued, to my beloved niece, Adana Ohalit Okonkwo, daughter of my late sister, on the following conditions. The world stopped spinning. Did he just say my name? What? Chief Mrs. Okonkwo shrieked, jumping to her feet. That's impossible. There must be a mistake. Chukwuemeka's face had gone pale, then red. This can't be legal. We'll contest it. Please let me finish, Barrister Ohalit said calmly, but I noticed 2 security guards step closer to the doors. He'd been expecting this reaction. My hands shook so badly that Ngozi, who'd come with me, gently took Chioma from my arms. The conditions are as follows, the lawyer continued. First, Adana must complete the ongoing divorce proceedings from Chukwuemeka Okonkwo within 6 months. Second, she must take active management training and assume leadership of Ohalit Energy Corporation within 1 year. Third, she must establish a foundation for women's education in Enugu State within 2 years. He looked up at me. Your uncle was very specific, Adana. He watched your marriage from afar. He knew about the emotional abuse, the belittling, the way the Okonkwo family treated you. He's been planning this will for 3 years, updating it regularly. His private investigator provided him with detailed reports. Private investigator? I whispered. Yes. Chief Nkemdarim was a meticulous man. He knew about Yatund Basharan. He knew about the post-nuptial agreement your husband tricked you into signing, which, by the way, our lawyers have found to be fraudulent and unenforceable. He knew everything. Chukwuemeka exploded. This is a setup. That old man was senile. We'll take this to court. Adana is still my wife. Half of that money is legally mine under Nigerian law. Barrister Ohalit smiled coldly. Actually, Mr. Okonkwo, Chief Nkemdarim anticipated that argument. That's why condition number 1 exists. The faster Adana divorces you, the faster she can claim her inheritance. And since you've already filed divorce papers... He pulled out a document. These papers, which you served to her in the hospital last week, actually work in her favor now. We'll be expediting the process. Chief Mrs. Okonkwo's face turned purple. You think you can just steal what belongs to my family? We'll destroy you. We have connections, power. You have debts, Barrister Ohalit interrupted. Chief Nkemdarim also discovered that Okonkwo Enterprises is on the verge of bankruptcy. You've been borrowing heavily, using company assets as collateral. That's why your son married Adana in the first place, her uncle's name and potential inheritance. And now that you think she has access to real money, you want back in. The room erupted in chaos. Relatives I didn't know started arguing. Chief Mrs. Okonkwo was screaming threats. Chukwuemeka stood frozen, his carefully constructed world crumbling around him. And I sat there, holding the will document that Barrister Ohalit had handed me, my daughter sleeping peacefully in Ngozi's arms, and I started to laugh. Not a happy laugh, a shocked, hysterical, this can't be real laugh. Barrister Ohalit leaned close. Your uncle left you one more thing, Adana. A letter. I suggest you read it somewhere private. As security escorted the Okonkwos out, Chief Mrs. Okonkwo threatening lawsuits and Chukwuemeka shouting about his rights, I looked down at the sealed envelope with my name written in Uncle Nkemdarim's handwriting. The letter that would explain everything. But first, Chioma started crying, and I realized that in the midst of this chaos, I'd forgotten about her feeding schedule. Some things, like motherhood, were more important than money. Even 800 million naira worth. If you're loving this story, drop a comment telling us what you think Adana should do next. And don't forget to share this video with anyone who loves a good revenge story. Subscribe to Tales by Ben for more dramatic stories every week. I read Uncle Nkemdarim's letter that evening in the guest suite Barrister Ohalit had prepared for me in Enugu. Chioma slept beside me in a beautiful crib that had appeared within hours of the will reading. Apparently, Uncle's household staff had anticipated my needs. My dearest Adana, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and you've just learned that you're a very wealthy woman. I imagine you're confused, angry, and overwhelmed. Let me explain. When you married Chukwemeka Okonkwo 7 years ago, I saw what others couldn't, or wouldn't, see. That young man didn't love you. He loved the idea of you, the Ohalit connection, the potential access to wealth he assumed I would eventually share. His mother, that wicked woman, orchestrated the whole thing. I hired investigators. I'm not proud of invading your privacy, but I needed to know if my suspicions were correct. And they were, my dear child. Every late night he claimed to be working, every mysterious charge on credit cards, every lie. I documented it all. The evidence is with Barrister Ohalit, ready for your use if needed. But more importantly, I watched you. You worked hard at your teaching job, even when Chukwemeka mocked it. You maintained your dignity when his mother insulted you. You stayed kind, stayed true to yourself. That's the Ohalit strength, not money, but character. This inheritance isn't just money, Adana. It's your freedom. It's your revenge, if you choose to take it. But mostly, it's your chance to become who you were always meant to be. The Okonkwos will come for you now. They'll manipulate, threaten, maybe even beg. Don't let them. You owe them nothing. Build something beautiful with this blessing. And remember, your mother was my favorite sister, and you were always meant for greatness. With love, Uncle Nkemdarim. I folded the letter carefully, tears streaming down my face. All those years feeling worthless, believing I wasn't good enough for the Okonkwo family, and Uncle had been watching, documenting, planning. My phone rang. Chukwemeka. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Adana, we need to talk. His voice was different now, softer, pleading. Please, let's meet. I was wrong, I see that now. We can work this out. Work what out, Chukwemeka? You literally handed me divorce papers while I was in labor. I was angry, confused. Yatund. She manipulated me. Made me think I wanted something different. But you're my wife, the mother of my child. We can rebuild. Together with my uncle's 800 million naira? Silence. That's what I thought, I said. Sign the divorce papers. Quickly. Every day you delay costs me money, and I'm done losing anything because of you. Adana, wait. I hung up. Within seconds, another call. His mother this time. I sent it to voicemail. Then text messages started flooding in. From Chukwemeka, from his mother, from relatives I hadn't heard from in years, all suddenly remembering I existed. Ngozi walked in with jollof rice from a local restaurant. Girl, your phone is blowing up. Everyone suddenly loves me now that I have money. Money changes everything. She sat beside me. So what's the plan? Are you really going to run an oil and gas company? I don't know the first thing about business. Then you'll learn. Your uncle believed in you. She paused. But first, you need to deal with those vultures circling. They're not going to give up easily. She was right. Over the next 3 days, the harassment escalated. Chukwemeka showed up at Uncle's compound, demanding to see me. His mother called Barrister Ohalit threatening legal action. Then the social media attacks started. Someone, likely Yatund, began posting on Instagram and Twitter, painting me as a gold digger who'd manipulated a sick old man into changing his will. She posted old photos of me and Chukwemeka, captioning them with messages about how I'd trapped him with pregnancy and was now stealing from my own family to keep him. Look at this. Ngozi showed me her phone. She's got 50,000 followers, and this post has gone viral. The comments were brutal. Lagos society women I'd never met were calling me names, questioning Chioma's paternity, saying I didn't deserve Uncle's money. Let them talk, I said, but inside, I was shaking. This was a different kind of warfare, public humiliation designed to break my spirit. Barrister Ohalit called that afternoon. Adana, we need to respond strategically. There's a shareholders meeting for Ohalit Energy Corporation next week in Lagos. As the new majority shareholder, you need to attend. But given the social media situation, we should make a statement first. What kind of statement? The truth. All of it. Your uncle kept meticulous records, remember? Including evidence of Chukwuemeka's infidelity, financial fraud in the postnuptial agreement, and something else. Proof that Okonkwo Enterprises has been embezzling from their investors for the past 3 years. What? Your uncle's investigators were thorough. He was planning to expose them before his death. Now that responsibility falls to you. I thought about it. Exposing Chukwuemeka and his mother would destroy them publicly, the same way they were trying to destroy me now. It would be revenge, sweet and complete. But it would also make me like them. Give me 24 hours to think about it, I said. That night, Chioma woke up crying. As I fed her, looking down at her perfect face, I realized something. I didn't want to be the villain in my own story. But I also couldn't let them win. There had to be a third option. I picked up my phone and called someone I'd never expected to call, the journalist who'd been reaching out to me since the will reading went public. Her name was Zainab Adeyemi, and she hosted Lagos's most popular morning radio show. Miss Zainab, this is Adana Okonkwo. I'm ready to tell my story. All of it. But I want to do it live, on your show, tomorrow morning. There was a pause. Are you sure? This will change everything. Everything already changed, I said, looking at Chioma. Tomorrow, Lagos listens to my truth. What will Adana reveal? Keep watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Tales by Ben for more gripping African stories. The radio station in Victoria Island looked exactly like I'd imagined. Modern, busy, filled with young people rushing around with coffee and tablets. Zainab Adeyemi met me in the lobby at 7 a.m., an elegant woman in her 40s wearing traditional Yoruba attire mixed with contemporary jewelry. Adana, thank you for coming, she said, shaking my hand warmly. Are you ready for this? Once we go live, there's no taking it back. I adjusted Chioma in her carrier. Ngozi had offered to watch her, but I'd refused. I wanted Lagos to see me as I truly was, not a gold digger or a scorned wife, but a new mother fighting for her dignity. I'm ready. The studio was smaller than I'd expected, just Zainab, me, and a sound engineer named Tund behind glass. Through the window, I could see the Lagos skyline awakening, traffic already building on the streets below, the constant pulse of the city that never truly slept. We go live in 3, 2, 1. Zainab smiled at me, then turned to her microphone with the confidence of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. Good morning, Lagos. This is Zainab Adeyemi on Lagos Wake Up Call, and do we have a story for you today? You've all seen the social media frenzy about Adana Okonkwo, the woman who allegedly manipulated her dying uncle into leaving her a fortune while breaking up a happy marriage. Well, today, Adana is here to tell her side of the story. Good morning, Adana. Good morning, Zainab. My voice shook slightly. Let's start with the hardest question. Did you manipulate your uncle, Chief Nkemdirim Ohalit, into changing his will to cut out other family members? No. In fact, I hadn't seen my uncle in 7 years, since my wedding day. I didn't even know the extent of his wealth until last week, at the will reading. So why did he leave everything to you? I took a deep breath. Because he was watching my marriage fall apart from abroad, and he wanted to give me a way out. Zainab, can I tell you what really happened? Not the version Yatun Basharan posted on Instagram, but the truth. Please do. So I told it. All of it. Meeting Chukwuemeka at university, marrying despite his family's objections, the years of emotional abuse disguised as high standards. Chief Mrs. Okonkwo's constant criticism. The way Chukwuemeka had slowly isolated me from my friends and family, making me believe I was the problem. And then I found out I was pregnant, I continued. I thought it would bring us closer. Instead, he became colder. Started working late. I smelled perfume on his clothes, found receipts for expensive gifts I never received. Did you confront him? I tried. He called me paranoid, insecure. His mother told me I was trying to trap him, that I should be grateful he'd married me at all. I paused, feeling the old hurt. I started to believe them. That's what emotional abuse does. It makes you question your own reality. Take us to the hospital, Zainab prompted gently. So I did. The whole story, my water breaking, calling Chukwuemeka repeatedly, him arriving with divorce papers and Yatund waiting in the hallway. The way he'd laughed at my pain. He laughed. Zainab's voice filled with genuine outrage. He laughed. And then he told me I'd get nothing because of a postnuptial agreement I'd signed when I was desperate to pay for my father's surgery. I barely read it, Zainab. I trusted my husband. What was in that agreement? Everything. It essentially said that if we divorced, I'd leave the marriage with nothing. No property, no support, nothing. And I signed it because my father was dying, and Chukwuemeka said he'd pay for the treatment if I signed. My father died anyway, 2 weeks later. I heard Zainab intake sharply. So he used your father's illness to trick you into signing away your rights? Yes. And according to my uncle's lawyer, the agreement was fraudulent anyway. But I didn't know that when I signed the divorce papers in the hospital. Wait, you signed them? I thought I had no choice. I was in labor, in pain, and my husband was standing there with his mistress in the hallway, telling me I was worthless. So yes, I signed. The phone lines in the studio started lighting up. Tun signaled to Zainab, who nodded. Adana, we have callers. Do you mind if we take a few? Please. The first caller was a woman named Amaka from Festac town. Adana, I'm so sorry this happened to you. My ex-husband did something similar, isolated me, made me feel worthless, then left me for a younger woman. These men are wicked. Don't let them break you. The second caller was different. A man named Kunal from Lekki, his voice dripping with skepticism. This all sounds convenient. You're painted as the victim, but meanwhile, you're about to become one of the richest women in Lagos. How do we know you didn't orchestrate this whole thing? Before I could respond, Zainab cut in. Kunal, let me ask you something. If Adana had orchestrated this, why would she marry a man whose family despised her? Why would she stay in an abusive marriage for 7 years? Why would she wait until she was in labor to receive divorce papers? What part of this plan sounds like something anyone would choose? I'm just saying. You're just saying what society always says when women finally stand up for themselves. That they must be lying, manipulating, gold-digging. Well, I have Chief Ohalit's will right here, and I've read it. His reasons for leaving everything to Adana are clear. He knew about the abuse. He documented it. And he chose to give his niece a chance at freedom. More calls came in. Most were supportive, but several accused me of breaking up a happy home. One woman claimed to be Yatund's friend, saying I was a liar and Chukwuemeka had been trying to leave me for years. Then my phone started buzzing on the table. Chukwuemeka calling. Then his mother. Then text messages started arriving. You're making a huge mistake. We'll destroy you for this. You'll never be accepted in Lagos society. That baby isn't even my son's child. I showed the messages to Zainab, who read them on air with barely concealed anger. So let me understand, she said into the microphone. Chukwuemeka Okonkwo served his wife divorce papers while she was in labor, paraded his pregnant mistress in the hospital hallway, and now he's threatening Adana for telling the truth about what happened. My phone buzzed again. But this time, it wasn't Chukwuemeka. It was Barrister Ohalit, Adana, turn on the TV. Channel 7. Are you still watching? The drama is about to explode. Make sure you're subscribed to Tales by Ben and hit that notification bell. You won't want to miss what happens next. Zainab pulled up Channel 7 on the studio monitor, and my heart stopped. There on Lagos Morning Show was Chief Mrs. Okonkwo, dressed in expensive lace and jewelry, sitting across from the host with a box of tissues and what I assumed were crocodile tears. "My son is devastated," she was saying, dabbing at dry eyes. "Adana has always been troubled, you see. We tried to help her, to include her in the family, but she was jealous, paranoid. She accused my son of cheating when he was simply working hard to provide for their family." "And the divorce papers in the hospital?" the host asked. A misunderstanding blown out of proportion. Chukwuemeka brought papers for her to sign, insurance documents for the baby, hospital paperwork. But Adana, in her postpartum state, became hysterical and claimed they were divorce papers. "We're very worried about her mental health." I felt Ngozi's hand on my shoulder. She'd arrived at the studio just as the interview started. "That lying witch," Ngozi hissed. Zainab looked at me. "Do you want to respond?" Before I could answer, my phone rang again. This time, Yatund Basharan. "Answer it," Zainab said. "On speaker." I did. "Adana, this is Yatund. I think we should talk, woman to woman." Her voice was smooth, confident. "I know you're on Zainab's show right now. I'm listening. And I want to set the record straight." "Go ahead," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Chukwuemeka and I have been together for 3 years. He told me you knew, that you'd agreed to an arrangement because you wanted to maintain the lifestyle he provided. He said you were okay with it as long as you got to keep the cars, the clothes, the apartment." "That's a lie. Is it? Or are you rewriting history now that you have your uncle's money? Because from where I'm standing, you trapped a man with a pregnancy, lived off his wealth, and now you're playing victim to justify keeping a fortune you don't deserve." Something inside me snapped. Not anger, clarity. "Yatund, let me ask you something. How much of your boutique did Chukwuemeka fund?" Silence. "Because I've seen the financial records. My uncle's investigators were very thorough. Chukwuemeka invested 5 million naira in your business 6 months ago, using company funds from Okonkwo Enterprises without board approval. That's embezzlement. And when his company started failing, he began courting you, a successful businesswoman, hoping to use your money to cover his losses." "That's not." "He did the same thing to me. Married me hoping to access my uncle's wealth. But unlike you, I had nothing to offer except hope. You actually have money, which makes you much more valuable to him. Congratulations, Yatund. You're the upgraded version of me, a richer victim." I heard her sharp intake of breath. "And that baby you're carrying? I hope Chukwuemeka is more loyal to you than he was to me. But based on the photos my uncle's investigator took of him with not 1, not 2, but 4 different women over the past 3 years, including you, I wouldn't count on it." I nodded to Zainab, who pulled up images on her tablet and held them to the camera for the radio audience to see on their live stream. Photos of Chukwuemeka with various women at restaurants, hotels, even at his office late at night. "Where did you get those?" Yatund's voice had lost its confidence. "My uncle knew exactly who Chukwuemeka was. He documented everything. Every affair, every lie, every financial fraud. Did you know Okonkwo Enterprises is under investigation by the EFCC for embezzlement? That your boyfriend's company is about to collapse?" The line went dead. On the monitor, Chief Mrs. Okonkwo was still performing her victim act, but my phone started buzzing with notifications. Social media was exploding. The photos were already trending on Twitter, the hashtag #LagosWifeTruth rising by the second. Then Barrister Ohalit called. "Adana, I'm outside the station with something you need to see. Can you come down? We're live. Trust me. This can't wait." Zainab called for a commercial break, and I rushed downstairs with Chioma in her carrier. Barrister Ohalit stood beside a black Mercedes, holding an envelope. "What's this?" "DNA results. Your uncle ordered them 3 months ago. DNA results for what? His expression was grave. Adana, there's something you need to know about Chioma's paternity. Something that changes everything. My world tilted. My hands shook as I took the envelope. What are you talking about? Chioma is Chukwuemeka's daughter. I've never been with anyone else. I know that, Adana. And the DNA confirms Chioma is biologically his child. But there's more. Barrister Ohalit glanced around the busy street, then lowered his voice. Your uncle discovered something 3 months ago when Chukwuemeka took a paternity test for Yatun's baby. He bribed a lab technician to get the results. And the child Yatund is carrying isn't Chukwuemeka's. The biological father is Chief Okonkwo, Chukwuemeka's own father. I nearly dropped the envelope. What? Chief Okonkwo has been having an affair with Yatund for over a year. Chukwuemeka doesn't know. He thinks the baby is his. But Yatund has been playing both father and son, probably planning to secure her financial future regardless of which relationship worked out. My mind reeled. This was beyond betrayal. This was a twisted family nightmare. Does Chief Mrs. Okonkwo know? Not yet. But your uncle left instructions for you to decide when and how to reveal this information. He believed you deserved to have leverage over the people who hurt you. I looked down at Chioma sleeping peacefully in her carrier. She was innocent in all this, a child who deserved better than the toxic family she'd been born into. Why would Uncle give me this power? Because he knew you wouldn't abuse it. He trusted your character, Adana. Whatever you decide to do with this information, he believed you'd make the right choice. Back in the studio, Zainab was fielding more calls. The social media storm had intensified, some people defending me, others calling me a liar, and Lagos society splitting into camps. But I barely heard any of it. I was thinking about Chief Mrs. Okonkwo on that television screen, crying fake tears about her poor son's troubled marriage. About Yatund, so confident in her manipulation. About Chukwuemeka, who destroyed our marriage for a woman carrying his father's child. The irony was almost poetic. Adana, are you okay? Zainab asked during the next break. You look like you've seen a ghost. I just learned something that changes everything, I said slowly. But I need to think about how to use it. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Chief Okonkwo. We need to meet. Today. Alone. I know you have information that could destroy my family. Let's discuss a mutually beneficial arrangement. So he knew I had the DNA results. Probably had someone watching me, or maybe the lab technician had warned him. I showed the message to Barrister Ohalit. Don't meet him alone, he said immediately. These people are dangerous when cornered. But an idea was forming in my mind. A way to end this cleanly, without becoming the villain, without destroying Chioma's future relationship with her father's family, however toxic they were. Set up a meeting, I told the lawyer. Tomorrow. At your office. Tell him I want Chief Mrs. Okonkwo, Chukwuemeka, and Yatund there too. Everyone who's been attacking me needs to be in that room. Adana, what are you planning? Justice. But not revenge. There's a difference. That night, back at Uncle Nkemdarim's compound in Enugu, I read his letter again, focusing on one line I'd skimmed before. This inheritance isn't just money, Adana. It's your freedom. It's your revenge, if you choose to take it. If I chose to take it. I looked at Chioma, now 1 week old, her tiny fingers wrapped around mine. What kind of mother did I want to be? The kind who taught her daughter that revenge was sweet? Or the kind who showed her that strength meant choosing dignity over destruction? Ngozi found me on the balcony, staring out at the Enugu skyline. You're planning something. I can tell. I'm planning to win, I said. But on my terms, not theirs. And what are your terms? You'll see tomorrow. But first, I need to make a call. I dialed Zainab Adeyemi. I want to do a follow-up interview tomorrow evening. After a meeting I'm having with the Okonkwo family. Whatever happens in that meeting, I want to control the narrative that comes after. You're playing chess while they're playing checkers, Zainab said with admiration. I'm in. But Adana, be careful. These people have already shown you who they are. I know exactly who they are, I said. That's why I'm going to win. The next morning, I dressed carefully in a tailored navy dress that Ngozi had helped me buy. Professional, expensive, nothing like the modest clothes I'd worn during my marriage. I wanted the Okonkwo's to see the new Adana, the one with 800 million naira and the power to destroy them. But I also wanted them to see a mother holding her baby daughter, a woman who'd chosen grace over vengeance. The meeting was set for 2 p.m. at Barrister Ohalit's office in Victoria Island. I arrived early with Ngozi and Chioma, my security detail, arranged by the lawyer, flanking us. Uncle Nkemdarim's wealth came with resources I was still learning to use. Chief Okonkwo arrived first, alone, looking older than I remembered. His face was drawn, worried. He'd built an empire on the foundation of family reputation, and I held the dynamite that could blow it all apart. Then Chukwuemeka, dressed in an expensive suit but with dark circles under his eyes. He wouldn't meet my gaze. Chief Mrs. Okonkwo swept in wearing full traditional attire, her face a mask of barely controlled rage. She looked at Chioma in my arms with undisguised hatred. Finally Yatund, her pregnancy now visible, her usual confidence replaced with wariness. She knew something was wrong, she just didn't know what. Barrister Ohalit closed the conference room door. Thank you all for coming. Adana has requested this meeting to discuss a resolution to the current situation. Resolution. Chief Mrs. Okonkwo spat. She's humiliated us publicly, turned Lagos society against us, and now she wants to negotiate? Actually, I said calmly, I want to offer you a choice. I placed the DNA envelope on the table. Chief Okonkwo's face went pale. Yatund's hand flew to her stomach. Chukwuemeka looked confused, glancing between his father and his mistress. What is that? He asked. The truth, I said. And what you all do with it will determine what happens next. Don't miss the next chapter. This is where everything explodes. Like this video if you're on the edge of your seat, drop a comment about what you think will happen, and share this with anyone who loves African drama. Subscribe to Tales by Ben for more stories like this. Before I open this envelope, I said, looking at each person in the room, I want to say something. For 7 years, you all made me feel worthless. You criticized my clothes, my job, my family, my cooking. Everything about me was never good enough for the great Okonkwo family. Chief Mrs. Okonkwo opened her mouth to speak, but I held up my hand. I'm not finished. You, Chief Okonkwo, sat silent while your wife insulted me at every family gathering. You, Chukwuemeka, slowly destroyed my self-esteem until I believed I was lucky you'd even married me. You made me sign away my rights when my father was dying. And you, Yatund, I looked at her directly, you participated in humiliating a woman in labor, waiting in that hospital hallway like you'd won some prize. Adana, please, Chief Okonkwo said quietly. Whatever you think you know. I don't think, Chief. I know. My uncle knew. He spent 3 years documenting every lie, every affair, every financial fraud. And what he discovered, I tapped the envelope, is explosive enough to destroy your family's reputation forever. Chukwuemeka stood up. What's in that envelope? If you have something to say it. I looked at Barrister Ohalit, who nodded. This was my decision, my power to wield. Inside this envelope are DNA test results for Yatund's unborn baby. Results that prove the biological father isn't who everyone thinks it is. The room froze. Yatund's face drained of color. Chief Okonkwo closed his eyes, his worst fear confirmed. What are you talking about? Chukwuemeka looked between Yatund and me. Of course I'm the father. Yatund, tell her. The baby is your father's, I said simply. Yatund has been sleeping with both of you. Chief Okonkwo is the biological father of her child. The explosion I'd expected didn't come. Instead, there was terrible, heavy silence. Then Chukwuemeka laughed, a broken, desperate sound. You're lying. This is revenge. You made this up. Look at your father's face, I said. Does he look like a man hearing a lie? Chief Okonkwo sat with his head in his hands. Chief Mrs. Okonkwo stared at her husband with an expression I couldn't read: shock, rage, and something that looked almost like resignation. Yetund started crying. Real tears this time, not the manufactured ones she'd probably used to manipulate both men. I didn't mean for this to happen. Chief Okonkwo came to my boutique. He was kind, generous. Things just developed. And then I was with Chukwuemeka too, and I didn't know whose baby. You knew, I interrupted. You took a paternity test 3 months ago. You knew the baby was Chief Okonkwo's, but you let Chukwuemeka believe it was his because he was young, handsome, and about to divorce his wife. You were hedging your bets. Chief Mrs. Okonkwo finally spoke, her voice ice-cold. 32 years of marriage. 32 years I stood beside you, built this family's reputation, raised your son. And this is how you repay me. With your son's mistress. Ngozi, please take Chioma to the waiting room, I said softly. My daughter didn't need to be present for what came next. Once Ngozi left with the baby, I continued. Here's what's going to happen. I have copies of these DNA results. I also have evidence of the financial fraud at Okonkwo Enterprises, the embezzlement, the fake invoices, the money laundered through shell companies. My uncle documented everything. What do you want? Chief Okonkwo asked, his voice defeated. I want you to leave me alone. Completely. No more social media attacks, no legal challenges to my uncle's will, no attempts to claim Chioma or manipulate custody. You sign the divorce papers immediately with no contest, Chukwuemeka. You pay the child support the court will order, but you don't fight me for custody or try to use Chioma to get access to my money. That's it. Chukwuemeka looked suspicious. You're not going to expose us? I didn't say that. I'm giving you a choice. Option 1. You agree to my terms, and these documents stay sealed. Your company's fraud never becomes public. The DNA results remain private. Lagos society never knows that Chief Okonkwo impregnated his son's mistress. You all rebuild your lives quietly, and we coexist in Lagos without destroying each other. And option 2? Chief Mrs. Okonkwo asked. I release everything. The DNA results, the financial fraud, the evidence of Chukwuemeka's 4 other affairs beyond Yetund. I bury your family's reputation so deep that you'll never recover. Your company will fold. Chief Okonkwo will likely face EFCC investigation. And Chukwuemeka, I looked at my soon-to-be ex-husband, you'll spend years in court fighting fraud charges. The room was silent except for Yetund's quiet sobbing. Why would you choose option 1? Chief Okonkwo asked. After everything we did to you, why would you offer us mercy? I thought about Uncle Nkemdirum's letter, about the woman I wanted to be, about the example I wanted to set for Chioma. Because revenge that destroys others ultimately destroys the person taking it. Because I have my daughter to think about, and while I don't want her raised by you people, I also don't want her growing up knowing her father and grandfather are in prison because of something her mother did. And honestly, I looked at each of them. Because you're not worth it. You're not worth sacrificing my peace, my integrity, or my future. Barrister Ohalit placed papers on the table. These are the agreements. If you sign, Adana keeps the evidence sealed. You stay away from her, you process the divorce cleanly, and you never speak publicly about her or Chief Ohalit's will again. If you violate these terms in any way, the evidence gets released immediately. And the baby? Yetund whispered. That's between you and the Okonkwo family, I said. I'm not your mediator or your judge. Figure it out yourselves. Chief Mrs. Okonkwo stood abruptly. I need to think. You have 1 hour, I said. After that, I'm doing my follow-up interview with Zainab Adeyemi. What story I tell depends on whether these papers are signed. I left them in that conference room, a family imploding, built on lies and greed and betrayal. I found Ngozi in the waiting area with Chioma, who was awake and looking around with curious eyes. "Did you do it?" Ngozi asked. "I gave them a choice. Now we wait." 45 minutes later, Barrister Ohalit emerged with signed papers. All of them, the divorce agreement, the custody arrangement, the non-disclosure agreements. "They signed," he said, "though I don't think any of them are speaking to each other." I felt no triumph, just relief. It was over. "There's one more thing," the lawyer added. "Chief Okonkwo asked if he could speak to you privately before he leaves." I found him in a small office, looking every day of his 65 years. "Adana, I want you to know something. I'm not proud of what I did. To my wife, to my son, to you. I was a coward who took the easy road. I didn't ask for your apology. I know. But you deserve it anyway. You showed more character in that room than I've shown in decades." He paused. "Your uncle was right about you. You were always too good for this family." That evening, I sat across from Zainab Adeyemi for the follow-up interview. But this time, the story I told was different. "The Okonkwo family and I have reached an amicable settlement," I said simply. "The divorce is proceeding, custody arrangements for my daughter have been agreed upon, and we've all decided to move forward with dignity rather than destruction." "So no more drama?" Zainab looked almost disappointed. I smiled. "No more drama. Sometimes the strongest revenge is simply living well and refusing to let toxic people steal your peace." But as I left the studio, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "You made a mistake showing mercy. Some lessons are only learned through consequences. Watch your back." The message came with a photo, me leaving Barrister Ohalit's office, taken from a distance. Someone wasn't ready to let this go. What will happen next? Will Adana's mercy come back to haunt her? Keep watching and don't forget to subscribe to Tales by Ben for the next chapter. Comment below what you think that threat means. I showed the threatening message to Barrister Ohalit immediately. He contacted the police, who traced the phone number to a burner device bought with cash at a market in Mushin. "Untraceable. This could be anyone," the inspector said. "A disgruntled family member, someone from the Okonkwo circle, or even a random person who saw you on TV and decided to harass you." But I knew it wasn't random. Someone was watching me, and they wanted me afraid. For the next 2 weeks, life settled into an uneasy routine. I moved into one of Uncle Nkemdirim's properties in Ikoyi, a beautiful 3-bedroom apartment with security and a view of the Lagos Lagoon. Ngozi moved in to help with Chioma, and slowly, I began to build the new life my uncle had envisioned for me. The business training started. Every morning, consultants and executives from Ohalit Energy Corporation came to teach me about the oil and gas industry, about managing investments, about the empire I'd inherited. It was overwhelming, but I was determined to honor Uncle's faith in me. "You're a natural," Ngozi said one evening as we reviewed financial reports. "Look at you, understanding equity stakes and production quotas. A month ago, you were teaching secondary school students about Shakespeare." "I still miss teaching," I admitted. "But this is bigger than I ever imagined." Uncle Nkemdirim employed over 500 people. Their families depend on decisions I make now. Then the threatening messages started escalating. First, it was just texts, vague warnings about watching my back. Then photos of me at the grocery store, at Chioma's pediatrician appointment, leaving the office. Someone was following me everywhere. Security was increased, but whoever was doing this was careful, professional. They knew how to stay invisible. 3 weeks after the settlement, I received a package at the office. Inside was a baby blanket, the same one Chioma had been wrapped in at the hospital, and a note, "Pretty baby. Would be a shame if something happened to her." That's when I knew this wasn't just harassment. Someone was threatening my child. I called an emergency meeting with Barrister Ohalit and my new security chief, a former DSS officer named Mr. Adewale Ogunbayi. "We need to find out who's behind this," I said, my voice shaking despite my efforts to stay calm. "They're threatening Chioma now." Mr. Ogunbayi studied the photos and messages. "This is sophisticated. Professional surveillance. Whoever is doing this has resources and training. The Okonkwo's? Possibly. But they signed agreements with serious penalties if they violate terms. Would they risk that? Barrister Ohalit frowned. Unless they think they can act through a proxy. Someone not technically part of the family, but motivated to hurt you. My phone rang. Yatund. Don't hang up, she said quickly. I think I know who's threatening you. I put her on speaker. Talk. Chief Mrs. Okonkwo has a nephew. Obinna Okonkwo. He's been in and out of trouble. Drugs, fraud, violence. The family usually sends him abroad when he gets too hot, but he came back to Lagos 2 weeks ago. I overheard Chief Mrs. Okonkwo on the phone with him, telling him you'd humiliated the family and destroyed their reputation. Why would she set him on me? She signed the agreements. Because she thinks she can work around them. If Obinna acts independently, technically she hasn't violated the contract. And if something happens to you... Yatund's voice dropped. Your assets would be tied up in probate. The will would be challenged. Chioma is a baby. She can't run a company. The Okonkwo family might be able to claim guardianship, control the money that way. My blood ran cold. They'd hurt me to get to my daughter's inheritance? These people have no limits, Adana. I learned that the hard way. Why do you think I'm calling you? Chief Mrs. Okonkwo found out the baby is her husband's, and she's making my life hell. She wants revenge on everyone who hurt her family's reputation, starting with you. After hanging up, Mr. Ogunbai made calls to his contacts in the police force. Within hours, he had information. Obinna Okonkwo had indeed returned to Lagos from South Africa, where he'd been hiding from fraud charges. He'd been spotted in Mushin, the same area where the burner phone was purchased. We need to move you somewhere safe, Mr. Ogunbai said. Somewhere he can't find easily. No. I won't hide. I won't let them terrorize me into disappearing. Adana, this man is dangerous. Then we draw him out. Set a trap. Barrister Ohalit looked alarmed. That's police work, not. The police need evidence to act. So let's give them evidence. I turned to Mr. Ogunbai. Can you coordinate with your police contacts? Stage a situation where Obinna thinks he has an opportunity to get to me, but it's actually a controlled environment. It's risky. Everything is risky now. But I'm tired of being afraid. I'm tired of running. Let's end this. 2 days later, word was carefully leaked through channels that I would be visiting a property in Lekki, one of Uncle's waterfront homes that was being renovated. I'd be there alone in the evening to meet with contractors, without heavy security because the location was supposed to be private. In reality, the house was surrounded by plainclothes police officers. Mr. Ogunbai had worked with a tactical unit, and they'd set up surveillance cameras and microphones throughout the property. I arrived at sunset, Chioma safely with Ngozi at a secure location across Lagos. Walking into that house, knowing someone dangerous was potentially watching, was the hardest thing I'd ever done. I pretended to inspect rooms, making calls about renovation plans, acting like I was alone and vulnerable. Every shadow made me jump. Every creak of the house settling had my heart racing. Then I heard it, footsteps on the stairs behind me. I turned slowly. A man stood there, tall and muscular, wearing dark clothes and a cold expression I recognized from photos. Obinna Okonkwo. Hello, Adana, he said, his voice casual but his eyes calculating. We need to talk about the money you stole from my family. I didn't steal anything. Your uncle gave me his inheritance. Your uncle was manipulated by you. Seduced, probably. Women like you are good at that, trapping rich old men. He moved closer. But you made a mistake humiliating my aunt. She wants justice. Justice? Or revenge? Same thing. He pulled out a knife, the blade catching the fading sunlight through the window. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to sign documents transferring control of Ohalit Energy to the Okonkwo family. You'll get a small settlement to keep quiet. And if you refuse... You'll what? Kill me. Here, now. He smiled. Accidents happen. Lagos is a dangerous city. Rich women get robbed all the time. Is that what your aunt told you to do? I kept my voice steady, knowing everything was being recorded. Kill me and make it look like a robbery? She told me to do whatever it takes to restore the family's honor. And to make sure you never threaten us again. He moved closer, the knife raised. And that's when Mr. Ogunbai and 6 police officers burst through the doors, weapons drawn. Police. Drop the weapon. Get on the ground now. Obinna spun, realized he was surrounded, and made the worst possible decision. He lunged at me with a knife. The gunshot was deafening in the enclosed space. Obinna fell, blood spreading across the floor. Not dead, but wounded in the shoulder. Officers swarmed him, cuffing him while calling for an ambulance. Mr. Ogunbai checked me over. Are you hurt? I shook my head, unable to speak, adrenaline and shock flooding my system. We had him. We had his confession on tape. We had evidence linking him to Chief Mrs. Okonkwo's plot. But as the police took Obinna away and I gave my statement, I realized something. This wasn't over. There would always be another threat, another person who wanted to destroy me for having what they thought should be theirs. Unless I changed the game entirely. That night, back in my secure apartment with Chioma sleeping peacefully beside me, I made a decision. I called Barrister Ohalit. I want to hold a press conference tomorrow. I'm going to announce the Ohalit Foundation, the women's education charity Uncle wanted me to create. But I'm also going to announce something else. What? I'm giving away half my inheritance. Splitting it among Uncle's other relatives, establishing educational funds, creating jobs. Keeping enough to run the company and secure Chioma's future, but spreading the rest where it can do good. Adana, you don't have to. Yes, I do. Because as long as I'm the sole holder of this fortune, I'm a target. But if I share it, if I become known not as the woman who stole an inheritance, but as the woman who used it to lift up others, the narrative changes. I become harder to attack. That's actually brilliant. And very much what your uncle would have wanted. Then let's do it. Tomorrow, Lagos learns that mercy isn't weakness. It's strategy. Are you still watching? The final chapter is next. Subscribe to Tales by Ben right now so you don't miss the stunning conclusion. Drop a comment about whether you think Adana made the right choice. The press conference was held at the Eco Hotel in Victoria Island, one of Lagos's most prestigious venues. The room was packed. Journalists from every major Nigerian newspaper, bloggers, society watchers, and even international media who'd picked up the story of the will that changed everything. I stood at the podium in a custom-made green and gold Ankara dress, Chioma in a matching outfit beside me in Ngozi's arms. I wanted Lagos to see us not as victims, but as victors who chose grace over vengeance. Good morning, I began, my voice steady despite my nerves. 3 months ago, I was a secondary school teacher in an abusive marriage, serving divorce papers while in labor, with no idea that my life was about to completely transform. Today, I stand before you as the CEO of Ohalit Energy Corporation and the executor of my uncle's legacy. Cameras flashed. Reporters scribbled notes. Many of you have followed the drama surrounding my inheritance. The accusations, the threats, the public spectacle of my private pain. Today, I want to set the record straight, not with more accusations or revenge, but with action. I paused, looking directly at the cameras. Chief Nkemdirim Ohalit left me 800 million naira because he believed I would use it wisely and well. After much prayer and consideration, I'm announcing the establishment of the Ohalit Foundation for Women's Empowerment. This foundation will provide educational scholarships for young women across Nigeria, fund small business loans for female entrepreneurs, and offer support services for women leaving abusive relationships. The room erupted in murmurs and questions. Furthermore, I continued, I'm distributing 200 million naira among my extended family members, cousins, aunts, uncles who were also descendants of Chief Ohalit. Not because I have to, but because wealth concentrated in one person's hands breeds resentment and danger. Shared wealth builds community. A journalist stood up. Mrs. Okonkwo, this sounds like you're trying to buy goodwill after the public scandal. It's Ms. Ohalit now, I corrected gently. The divorce was finalized last week. And no, I'm not buying goodwill. I'm honoring my uncle's vision. He didn't just want me to be rich. He wanted me to be free, empowered, and positioned to help others achieve the same freedom. Another question, what about the recent attack? Reports say Chief Mrs. Okonkwo's nephew tried to kill you. Obinna Okonkwo is in police custody, facing charges of attempted murder, extortion, and threatening behavior. The evidence is substantial, and justice will be served through the legal system. But I don't want to focus on that. I want to focus on moving forward. Have you reconciled with the Okonkwo family? No, and I don't plan to. Reconciliation requires accountability and change, neither of which they've demonstrated. But I've chosen to release the anger and hurt they caused. Not for their sake, but for mine and my daughters. Chioma deserves a mother who's healed, not bitter. I took a breath, preparing for the hardest part of my announcement. Finally, I want to speak directly to women watching this, especially those in situations I used to be in. Women trapped in marriages where they're belittled, isolated, made to feel worthless. Women who stay because they think they have no options, no resources, nowhere to go. The room went completely quiet. You are not trapped. You are not worthless. And you don't have to wait for a miracle inheritance to reclaim your life. The Ohalit Foundation will include a shelter and resource center in Lagos, with plans to expand to other states. We'll provide legal assistance, counseling, job training, and temporary housing. Because every woman deserves the chance to rebuild, regardless of her bank account. As I spoke, I saw tears on some journalists' faces. Heads nodding in agreement. Even the cynical Lagos society bloggers looked moved. My uncle gave me more than money. He gave me proof that I was never the problem. That the people who made me feel small were the ones with the deficiency, not me. I want to pay that forward. Every woman who walks through our foundation's doors will hear the same message. You are enough. You always were. The questions came rapid fire after that. About the foundation structure, the timeline for launch, how women could access services. I answered them all, confident and clear. Then someone asked, what about Chukwemeka Okonkwo? Do you have any message for your ex-husband? I looked directly at the camera. I hope you find whatever it is you were looking for when you threw away our marriage. I hope Yatund and the complications of your family situation teach you about consequences and karma. And I hope that when Chioma is old enough to ask questions about why her parents aren't together, you'll have the courage to tell her the truth instead of lies. After the press conference, as I was leaving the venue, I saw a familiar figure in the crowd. Chukwemeka, looking haggard and older than his 34 years. Adana, wait, he called out. I stopped, Chioma in my arms, Mr. Ogunbai I and my security detail immediately alert. I just wanted to say. He struggled for words. You were right. About everything. I destroyed the best thing I ever had because I was too stupid and selfish to appreciate it. What you're doing with the foundation, with the money, it's more than I could ever have achieved. Was there something you needed, Chukwemeka? Because if this is about trying to get back together. No. God, no. I know I destroyed that possibility forever. He looked at Chioma, his daughter he rarely saw under the supervised visitation arrangement. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. Truly sorry. And I hope Chioma grows up to be like you, not like me. It was the first genuine thing I'd heard him say in years. The foundation will help men too, I said quietly. Men who were raised in toxic environments, who learned bad patterns from their parents, who want to break cycles of abuse and manipulation. If you're serious about change, about becoming a better father, resources will be available. You'd help me? After everything. Not for you. For Chioma. She deserves a father who's healed, just like she deserves a mother who's healed. Whether you take that opportunity is up to you. I walked away, not looking back. 6 months later, The Ohalit Foundation opened its doors in Yaba, Lagos. The building was beautiful, modern, welcoming, filled with light and hope. On opening day, over 300 women came through seeking help, information, or just someone to listen to their stories. I walked through the facility with Chioma on my hip, now 8 months old and babbling happily. She'd never remember the drama of her birth, the chaos of those early months. She would only know a mother who'd survived, thrived, and built something meaningful from pain. Ngozi found me in the library, wiping tears from my eyes. "Happy tears?" she asked. "Happy tears," I confirmed. "Uncle Nkemdarim would be proud. He's probably up there laughing at how spectacularly wrong the Okonkwo's were about you." I laughed, the sound genuine and free. "You know what the best part is? I don't even think about them anymore. They're just people I used to know, not the center of my universe." That evening, as I put Chioma to bed in our home, the apartment in Ikoyi that was truly ours, paid for with inheritance I'd earned through suffering and strength, my phone buzzed with a news alert. Okonkwo Enterprises files for bankruptcy. Chief Mrs. Okonkwo under investigation for financial fraud. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no vindication, just a mild sense of inevitability. Karma had worked without my intervention. A text came through from Yatund. I left Lagos. Moved to Abuja with the baby. Chief Okonkwo signed away paternity rights. Just wanted you to know you were right about everything. Thank you for not destroying me when you could have. I typed back, "Good luck. Seriously. I hope you find peace." Then I deleted her number. That chapter was closed. Looking out at the Lagos skyline, the city lights twinkling like earthbound stars, I thought about the woman I'd been just 6 months ago. Broken, crying in a hospital bed, signing divorce papers with shaking hands while holding my newborn daughter. That woman would barely recognize me now. I'd learned that betrayal, as devastating as it feels in the moment, can be the catalyst for transformation. That sometimes the worst thing that happens to you is actually the best thing, because it forces you to discover strength you never knew you had. My phone rang one last time. Barrister Ohalit. "Adana, I have news. The EFCC investigation into Okonkwo Enterprises has uncovered something significant. Chief Okonkwo has agreed to testify against several corrupt government officials in exchange for reduced charges. It's going to be a major scandal." How does that affect us? It doesn't. That's the beauty of it. You're completely insulated from their mess now. The foundation is separate, your personal assets are protected, and legally, you have no connection to their troubles. So it's really over. It's really over. You're free, Adana. In every possible way. After we hung up, I walked into Chioma's nursery and watched her sleep. Her tiny chest rising and falling, her perfect face peaceful in dreams. She would grow up knowing her mother as a woman who'd faced impossible odds and won, not through revenge or cruelty, but through resilience and grace. I pulled out Uncle Nkemdarim's letter one last time, reading the words that had given me strength through the darkest moments. Build something beautiful with this blessing. And remember, your mother was my favorite sister, and you were always meant for greatness. I'm building it, Uncle, I whispered to the night. And I'm raising her to be even stronger than I am. The next morning, I woke up to hundreds of messages from women across Nigeria, sharing their stories, thanking me for the foundation, asking how they could volunteer or donate. The press conference had gone viral, with millions of views online and news coverage from CNN International to BBC Africa. One message stood out from a young teacher in Enugu. "Mrs. Adana, I'm in the exact situation you were in. Married to a man who belittles me, isolated from my family, no money of my own. Watching your story gave me hope. I'm calling the Foundation's hotline today. Thank you for showing us it's possible to escape." I replied immediately, "You're not escaping. You're reclaiming your life. Call the hotline, and we'll help you create a plan. You're going to be okay. I promise." At the office that afternoon, my executive team presented quarterly reports. Ohalit Energy Corporation was thriving under new management. More efficient, more ethical, more profitable than it had been under Uncle's more traditional leadership style. I'd brought in young Nigerian talent, implemented transparency measures, and created mentorship programs for women entering the oil and gas industry. We're being approached by international companies wanting to partner with us, my CFO reported. Your reputation as a reform-minded CEO is attracting positive attention. Good. But remember our mission: profit with purpose. Every deal we make should align with our values and benefit Nigerian communities. After the meeting, I drove to Surulere to visit Ngozi's family. Her mother had helped care for Chioma during those desperate early days, and I'd promised to support her younger siblings' education. 2 of them were now on full scholarships to excellent universities, courtesy of the foundation. You've changed their lives, Ngozi's mother said, embracing me. God will bless you abundantly for your generosity. You helped save my life when I had nowhere to go, I reminded her. This is just paying forward what you gave me: safety, dignity, and hope. That evening, I received an unexpected visitor at my apartment. Chief Mrs. Okonkwo, looking diminished without her usual elaborate attire and jewelry. Mr. Ogunbai wanted to turn her away, but I agreed to give her 5 minutes. She stood in my living room, unable to meet my eyes. I came to apologize, she said quietly, for everything. The insults, the manipulation, encouraging Obinna to threaten you. I was wrong. About all of it. I waited, saying nothing. My marriage is over. My son barely speaks to me. My company is bankrupt. And watching you at that press conference, seeing how you took pain and created something beautiful. She finally looked at me. I realized I spent my whole life building the wrong things. I built reputation instead of character. I built wealth instead of relationships. And now I have nothing. You have your health and your freedom, I said. That's more than many people have. What you do with them is up to you. I don't expect forgiveness. Good. Because I'm not ready to give it, and I may never be. But I don't wish you harm either. I hope you find peace, Chief Mrs. Okonkwo. I genuinely do. After she left, I realized something profound. Her apology changed nothing for me. My healing wasn't dependent on her remorse or acknowledgement. I'd already moved on, built a new life, found peace. She was just a character from a story I'd already finished writing. 3 months later, the Ohalit Foundation expanded to Abuja and Port Harcourt. We'd helped over 1,500 women leave abusive situations, provided scholarships to 300 young women, and funded 75 female-owned businesses. The impact was measurable, tangible, real. Chioma took her first steps in my office at Ohalit Energy Corporation, surrounded by executives who cheered and clapped. She would grow up in boardrooms and foundation offices, seeing her mother lead with strength and compassion. She would never doubt that women could be powerful and kind, successful and ethical, wealthy and generous. 1 year after the divorce was finalized, I attended a gala for Lagos businesswomen. Walking into that ballroom in a stunning emerald dress, photographers asking for pictures, society women who'd once scorned me now competing for my attention, I felt the full weight of how completely my life had transformed. But the moment that meant the most came later, when a young woman approached me nervously. Ms. Ohalit, I just wanted to thank you. I came to the foundation 6 months ago, pregnant and homeless after my boyfriend threw me out. You helped me get housing, find a job, prepare for my baby. I'm a nurse now at Lagos University Teaching Hospital. I'm supporting myself and my daughter. Tears streamed down her face. You saved my life. I hugged her tightly. No, darling. You saved your own life. I just opened a door. You walked through it. As I drove home that night, Chioma asleep in her car seat, I thought about the question people often asked me: don't you wish you could go back and prevent all the pain? Avoid marrying Chukwuemeka, skip the abuse, bypass the betrayal. And my answer was always the same: no. Because that pain made me who I am. That betrayal taught me my worth. That moment in the hospital, the absolute lowest point of my life, was the catalyst for everything beautiful that followed. Chukwuemeka thought he was destroying me when he handed me those divorce papers in labor. He was actually setting me free. Uncle Nkemdarim knew that freedom was waiting. He just gave me the resources to claim it fully. And now, I was paying it forward, helping other women discover that the worst moment of their lives might actually be the beginning of their greatest transformation. I parked in my garage, carried Chioma upstairs, and tucked her into bed. Before turning off the light, I whispered the words I'd say to her every night as she grew. You are strong. You are worthy. You are enough. Never let anyone make you forget that. My phone buzzed with one final message, from Barrister Ohalit. Chief Nkemdarim's birthday would have been today. I think he's smiling down at what you've built. I replied, I hope so. Because I'm just getting started. And I was. The foundation was expanding internationally. Ohalit Energy Corporation was negotiating groundbreaking renewable energy projects. I'd been invited to speak at the United Nations about women's economic empowerment. But more than any of that, I was happy. Genuinely, deeply happy in a way I'd never been during my marriage. I'd learned that you don't need a man to complete you, money to define you, or anyone's approval to validate you. You just need to know your worth and refuse to settle for less than you deserve. That's what Uncle Nkemdarim's will really gave me. Not 800 million naira, but the certainty that I deserved better. That I was enough. That my value wasn't determined by people who'd never appreciated me. And that was worth more than all the money in the world. As I fell asleep that night, I smiled thinking about how wrong they'd all been. Chukwemeka, his mother, Yatund, everyone who'd underestimated the quiet teacher from Enugu. They thought I was weak because I was kind. They thought I was worthless because I was humble. They thought I was finished because I was broken. But broken things can be rebuilt stronger. Humble people can rise to greatness. And kindness, wielded with wisdom, is the most powerful force in the world. He laughed as he handed me divorce papers in labor, unaware of the will that changed everything. But the real change wasn't the money. It was me. Thank you for watching this incredible journey with Adana. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this message, and subscribe to Tales by Ben for more powerful African stories about resilience, redemption, and triumph. Drop a comment telling us, what was your favorite moment in Adana's story? And where are you watching from? Remember, your darkest moment might just be the beginning of your greatest transformation. Until next time, keep believing in your worth.